Hey there everyone, it's Mr. Lane, here to introduce you to art from the Roman Empire. This will be part 1 of our lecture series. Take good notes and let's begin. The Roman Empire key ideas. Roman art reflects their ambitions, and monuments reflect the glory of the gods in government. The Romans gave an almost artistic touch to everything they made. Roman architecture is famous for the arch, the vault, and the use of concrete. Roman paintings are few, yet we have well-preserved first, second, third, and fourth styles from Pompeii. The Romans had a great interest in the height of Greek art and continued to make many copies of Greek sculptures. Roman art is less idealized and intellectual than classical Greek. It's more secular and functional. Where the Greeks shined at innovation, the Romans were very good with administration. The main philosophy of the Roman art included efficiency, organization, and practicality. No government before or after ever used art more effectively as a political tool than the Romans. Here are the list of key terms you will learn about throughout the lecture. These are all of the art pieces you will study. For the first time in history, a single government ruled an empire extending all that you see here in red. The Romans ruled nearly all of Europe, North Africa, and West Asia. The empire was made up of numerous races, religions, languages, and cultures, like the Greeks, Egyptians, Africans, and Syrians, Jews and Christians, to name a few. It was an open city, welcoming outcasts, murderers, runaway slaves, and migrants could become citizens. This made Rome the largest metropolitan city of the ancient world. Roman artists were open to new ideas from these other cultures and empires. Here's a trailer for the movie Gladiator that you can watch. These are our periods in Roman art. Characteristics of this period included monuments, engineering, realism, interior space, and temples. First, we have the monarchy and republic, 753 to 27 BCE, that ends with Mark Antony. Next, the early empire, 27 BCE to 96 CE, Augustus to the Flavian dynasty. The High Empire was 96 to 192 CE, Antonine dynasty. And then the Late Empire, 192 to 337 CE, ends with Constantine, the first Christian emperor. During the monarchy, 753 to 509 BCE, Latin and Etruscan kings ruled Rome. The Republic, which was between 509 and 27 BCE, starts made up of a Senate. The consuls was 2 elected officials who served for 1 year. They appointed leaders called senators. The consuls led armies and civil business in Rome. The Senate controlled money, administration, and foreign policy. In time of crisis, the Senate could appoint a dictator. During 27 BCE, Augustus becomes the first emperor after defeating Mark Antony and Cleopatra. There are 2 types of people during the Roman Empire. One, or class of people, you have the patrician, which was the wealthy landowners, Then we have the plebeians, small-time farmers, merchants, and free slaves. Birth of Roman public portraiture. Verism is something that is very realistic, super realistic. Describes the style. Propaganda is something in which information, ideas, or rumors are deliberately spread widely to help or harm a person, group, movement, institution, nation, and the list goes on. Next, let's talk about the head of a Roman patrician. Often, they were victorious generals who used the spoils of war to finance public works. Portraiture was one way the patrician class celebrated its elevated position in society. These busts reflect the importance that patricians placed on genealogy. The subjects of these portraits were almost exclusively men, and to a lesser extent, women of advanced age, for generally only elders held power in the Republic. These patricians requested images memorializing their distinctive features in the tradition of the treasured household images. Scholars debate whether Republican veristic portraits were truly blunt records of individual features or exaggerated types designed to make a statement about personality. Serious, experienced, for example, determined, loyal to the family and state, the most admired virtues during the Republic. Here are more detailed notes about the bust. Pompeii in the cities of Vesuvius. It was 1 p.m. on a summer day when, according to eyewitness Pliny the Younger, Mount Vesuvius erupted, spewing lava and raining ash on the nearby town of Pompeii. A black mushroom cloud rose 12 miles over the peak until, by the end of the next day, the villages were covered with 18 feet of ash and pumice. They remained covered, forgotten, for almost 1,700 years, preserving an incredible amount of nearly intact artifacts, mosaics, and wall paintings. Here's the eyewitness account that you can read over. House of the Getty, rebuilt between 67 and 79 CE, stone and fresco, Pompeii, Italy. All Roman houses of this type were inward-looking in nature. The design shut off the street's noise and dust, and all eternal activity focused on the brightly illuminated atrium at the center of the residence. Roman wall paintings were true frescoes, with the colors applied while the plaster was still damp. The process was painstaking. First, the painter prepared the wall by using a trowel to apply several layers of plaster. Some of the plaster was mixed with marble dust if the patron could afford it. Only then could painting begin. Finally, when the painter completed the work and the surface was dried, an assistant polished the wall to achieve a marble-like finish. There are 4 styles of paintings that will be found in this area. The first style was painted panels made to look like marble. The second style, we see an example of Dionysus in the mysterious frieze. The third style has monochromatic backgrounds. And finally, the fourth style has a creamy white appearance with small landscapes. The early empire was between 27 BCE and 96 CE. Around 4040 BCE, there was the murder of Julius Caesar on the Ides of March that resulted in a civil war that lasted 13 years. The Ides of March simply referred to the first new moon of a given month, which usually fell between the 13th and 15th. Julius Caesar was the great uncle and adoptive father of Augustus. Octavian, or Augustus, crushed the naval forces of Mark Antony and Cleopatra. Augustus was the first Roman emperor, and he claimed to be the son of a god, the god Venus. 27 BCE, Augustus conferred and recognized as princeps, the first citizen. Princeps is an unofficial title used by Roman emperors. Control of all Roman public life. Augustan peace, which lasted 2 centuries, meant Pax Romana. That's the term they used to describe that peace. Augustus, with his truly combined military might, institution building, and lawmaking, became Rome's sole ruler. He laid the foundation of the 200-year Pax Romana, Roman peace, and an empire that lasted in various forms for nearly 1,500 years. There were also a huge number of public works that were made. The assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BCE plunged the Roman Republic into a period of civil war lasting over 10 years. The conflict spread quickly from Rome to the eastern Mediterranean Sea, engulfing Egypt and Greece. During one battle, Caesar's adopted nephew, Octavian, defeated the allied forces of Mark Antony, the Roman consul under Caesar, and Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt. Mark Antony was an ally of Julius Caesar and the main rival of his successor, Octavian, later Augustus. His romantic and political alliance with the Egyptian queen Cleopatra was his ultimate undoing. Mark Antony is who I'm referring to. With peace restored, Octavian set out to consolidate his power over Rome, and in 27 BCE, the Roman Senate made him emperor for life and granted the title Augustus. Greco-Roman is a term that acknowledges and identifies the blend of Greek and Roman artistic features that first appears in Roman art, which we can see here by comparing these two pieces, the Doryphoros and Augustus sculptures. The Romans, they collect and plunder a considerable portion of the Greeks' artistic heritage. It is well known that the Romans established large sculptural workshops, factories as it were, dedicated to copying Greek masterpieces. Portrait of Augustus as General, early 1st century copy of a bronze original. Through this sculpture, we see a blending of history and myth. The emperor stands in a posture of oratory, one arm outstretched in a rhetorical gesture as if he's addressing an audience. Augustus was a military commander, the leader of the powerful Roman legions. In the decoration on his breastplate, which we'll look at in detail here in a moment, alludes to his victories in battle and to the peace he brought to the empire. In the center of the breastplate stands 2 figures, one of whom, dressed in Roman military costume, is surely Octavian before he took Augustus as an imperial name. He receives the Parthian king, a traditional foe of the Romans, with whom he established peaceful relations after a long period of conflict. Here you see labels of certain symbols and what they mean. At the leg of the statue is a small figure of Cupid riding a dolphin, a reference to the emperor's divine lineage, exactly as proposed in Virgil's poem Aeneid. Venus was the mother of Cupid and Aeneas alike, and by implication, a maternal ancestor of Augustus. Her symbol, Venus's symbol, the dolphin, alludes to the sea out of which she was born, and almost certainly as well to the emperor's naval victory at Actium, the triumph that handed him unchallenged authority over the Roman world. In ancient art and custom, a ruler with bare feet often symbolized his divine nature. The custom has its origins in ancient Egypt and the Near East, and is visible in the earliest representations of Egyptian kings. It stems from various religious and social traditions, the most important of which is the concept of the pure and holy ground upon which gods stand. In the Old Testament book of Exodus 3:5, for example, God appears to Moses in the form of the burning bush and commands him to remove the sandals because he stands upon holy ground. West facade of the altar of the Augustan Peace, Rome, Italy, 13 to 9 BCE. Augustus and other members of the ruling elite regarded the arts as a key instrument and demonstration of Roman power throughout the world. A good example is the construction of the altar of the Augustan Peace, an ambitious ceremonial altar built at the request of the Roman Senate to herald the beginning of this new and unrivaled age in Roman history, to mark the beginning, for example. Its finely carved reliefs of both real and allegorical figures emphasize the renewal of Rome and the emperor's pivotal role in achieving it. Here's a detailed image. Procession of the imperial family from the altar of the Augustan Peace. Here you can see recognized individuals, including children. This demonstrates that Augustus promoted marriage and childbearing. Female personification. Her identity is uncertain. Art historians usually call her Tellus, which means Mother Earth, although some scholars have identified her as Pax, which means peace, Ceres, the goddess of grain, or even Venus. Let's review the definition of personification. It's the attribution of a personal nature or human characteristics to something non-human, or the representation of an abstract quality in human form. So here you see the personifications of refreshing breeze. Note their wind-blown drapery that flank her. The earth, sky, and water are all elements of this picture of peace and fertility in the Augustan cosmos. Thanks for watching part 1. Happiness depends upon ourselves. Aristotle.